Afternoon everyone, it's Nicola here. Today I want to talk to you about what's stopping you getting started. I was talking to a client yesterday and she's a bit of a frequent flyer because she pops up occasionally when she needs to talk over her business idea. And we reflected on the fact that we've been talking about this business idea since about 2015 and something is stopping her getting started. And I know that clients have to come to their own realisations, and so all I can do is ask questions, hopefully helpful ones. This client was ruminating on the question, what is stopping her getting started? And she came to the conclusion it was fear. And we were trying to work out what exactly it was fear of. And we discussed several possibilities, so let's see if some of those resonate for you, shall we? A big one was a fear of being criticised, a fear of people commenting that she knew and criticising how she was going about things. Another one was fear of failure. Obviously, you don't want to start something that might fail, but not any successful person I know goes into any business venture thinking that they're going to fail. Otherwise, they would never start in the first place, would they? Fear of success is another big one. Fear of it growing too big too fast and getting overwhelmed and not being able to cope and not knowing how to grow a business. And that is a very relevant fear. But as one of my business mentors says, it's a good one to have. It's a good challenge to have because money can solve an awful lot of problems. Fear of making the wrong decisions. That's when you think you have to go it all alone. But generally speaking, what happens is if you keep your eyes open and your ears out, then you'll generally attract mentors who want to help and guide and support you. All they're looking for is a sign of life from you in the first place. So you'll attract very quickly a whole team of mentors and advisors around you once your business gets going, if it starts growing to any significant size. A big one is the fear of responsibility. I actually have this in spades, being the oldest of 4 children and 2 of them being much younger than me, so I was often left to look after them. And I've got a morbid fear of responsibility now. So I like to keep my business as a solopreneur business with a team around me that have outsourcers. And yes, I know I'll never grow and scale it that way, but that's the way I like to work. So you have to know yourself well enough to know what kind of business is going to suit you. One of the things that cropped up in our conversation was a fear of trolls, because whenever you get to a certain level of visibility, people do start to come out of the woodwork and they do feel they can say just about anything to you. And some people actually just do it for the lols, as it's called, where they actually fire up their computer and think, who can I go and terrorise tonight? Whose life can I go and make an absolute misery tonight? So you've got to be ready for that, especially if you're becoming visible on social media, for example, on YouTube and on Instagram particularly. You are going to get people commenting on your appearance, and you have to be ready for that, and you have to be ready to handle that. I actually don't give a damn what anyone says about me, so all I care about is, do I give value? And as long as I'm doing that, people can comment on my appearance as much as they like, because I just won't care. There is always the delete and block tools on every social media platform. And then there is the fear of not knowing what it looks like. We decided this was probably the most prevalent one. Not knowing what your business looks like can make you scared to take the first step. I always like to tell the traffic light story there at that point, because you don't wait till all the traffic lights are green before you go to the pub, do you? You go out of the house and you drive to the first traffic light and you wait till it turns green, and then you drive to the next traffic light and then you wait till that turns green. It's a good metaphor for not needing to know exactly what the damn thing's going to look like before you go out of the house and start on your journey. But if it helps, then the 2-page business plan that I covered in one of my previous videos, I'll flash a link to the cover up here so you can find it easily. That helps you plan out what your business is going to look like in 10 years time, and then you can work backwards from there. 5 years time, 2.5 years time, 1 year's time, 6 months time, 3 months time, 1 month's time, 1 week's time. Then you can plan out the steps you need to do to get to each milestone. So if you're having trouble getting started, especially if you're moving from being an employee into being a small business person, but you haven't taken that first step, I would ask you to just think about what's stopping you getting started. Is it not knowing what to do, or is it fear? And if so, what are you afraid of? Don't be ashamed, there's nothing to be ashamed of, but if you can identify it, then you can deal with it. There's an amazing woman called Byron Katie, and she's done something called The Work, which you could probably get as a book, but if you go and Google it, you'll certainly find it. And she asks 4 liberating questions. So when you're thinking about the thing you're afraid of, all you have to do is ask yourself these 4 questions. The first one is it true? The second one is, can you absolutely know that it's true? The third one is, how do you react? when you believe that thought? Who would you be without that thought? And I'd like to add a fifth one. What might happen without that thought? Sit down and write it all down. That's the best way to do it. Just keep asking yourself the question until you get to the real truth of the matter, and then you can deal with it and take that first step. I'd love to have that conversation with you. Why not just whiz down to the description and book yourself in for a 15-minute chat with me anytime. I'll speak to you tomorrow.